As someone who didn't know the Fairy Tail series but was a fan of Gust's games, I was pretty sure I'd end up liking their take on it, with my only worry being if I'd connect with it. Thanks to plenty of character development through the main story and the Atelier-style quest board that led to even more events, I was able to get to know many of the characters of the show I'd never seen, and even become invested in their outlandish personalities and relationships as each quest let me dive deeper into the world. While the game unfortunately seems to cut corners that could have made this experience truly fantastic, with good turn-based combat, fun characters, and a slick anime style, this Fairy Tail game was a great introduction to its world and one I had a lot of fun questing in, and is one both newcomers can enjoy and fans can expect a lot from. Fairy Tail wastes no time getting into epic anime moments, starting off with an epic battle that finishes largely thanks to the power of friendship. From there, and 7 years into the future, the group returned to their guild's base of operations after being sealed away, only to find that in their absence they've dropped to the bottom of the guild rankings, which simply won't do. Natsu and the big cast featuring a variety of Fairy Tail characters set out to return to their former glory by doing quests and participating in events, with a game featuring arcs like the Grand Magic Games and others from the show that are exciting to see unfold in video game form. The cherry on top of seeing all these story events play out is the visuals. The character models combine the anime look of the show with models that can pull off Fairy Tail's crazy costumes and expressions that really do justice to the original. In regular events for stories and quests they look great, and then there's the occasional pre-rendered cutscene that is even more stunning to look at. On occasion in battle and scenes there are some frame rate stutters here and there, but most of the time it pulls everything off, and with the flashy attacks and funny faces you'd expect from an anime, the visuals are a perfect marriage between 2D and 3D in-game form. As for the story itself, I enjoyed seeing a lot of the arcs play out, particularly the Grand Magic Game one, as it introduced a lot of the characters in the greater Fairy Tail universe. There's such a huge cast of colorful characters to get to know, and while there are some missing in ways that I'll talk about later, the amount that are included is impressive and really make their time in the game count, with plenty of quests and moments to get to know them in. Since I don't know the anime or manga well beyond the first episode, I did on occasion feel like I'd been dropped into a world I didn't know, as with a series that spans hundreds of episodes and manga chapters, there's bound to be things that can't be fit into a 27-hour-long main campaign. I didn't feel too bothered by this most of the time though, as a lot of the moments in-game are so over the top they can be appreciated for just that anyway, and there are many quests and side story moments to find that fill in the blanks, so that feeling never really lingered too long, and I left the experience charmed by many of the characters like Lucy, Urza, and even Natsu himself, so if you don't know the series well at all like me but are curious, it shouldn't hinder a playthrough too much as long as you're okay with missing some extra lore here and there. Above all, since the quest board system was familiar from Atelier but packed with a bunch of extra lighthearted moments, those inside stories ended up being my favorite part of the game, since they usually involve seeing a different side of a character or group that didn't get much screen time together in the main story but had their own unique dynamic. I'm sure if you're actually into the show, these moments are an extra big treat, especially since there are supposed to be some original ones made just for the game, and with the main story being a decent length with extra content that can make it even longer, there's plenty to satisfy both new and old fans, so it's nice to see these characters in so many fun moments, and I'm glad it managed to make it all enjoyable for a new fan like myself too. One of the things that made me instantly want to try this Fairy Tail game was that some of its systems took inspiration from Gust's Atelier series, and while it has plenty to set itself apart from Atelier with its larger-than-life anime-style special attacks and its awakening system, the familiarity made it easy to get into for an Atelier fan like myself. Like Atelier, there's a game flow of sorts in place that flows together nicely. Between story moments, you'll work to make Fairy Tail number 1 by doing quests on the quest board that usually means taking out some enemies or collecting something, often alongside some character development or developing your guild facilities that not only ups your guild rank, but also acts as a nifty way to get free buffs such as increased stats or drinks that can give you temporary buffs. Once you're at the guild rank the story requires you to be at, you can progress, with plenty of exciting battles to do thanks to Fairy Tail's fun turn-based combat. It's a fairly simple system that takes advantages of strengths and weaknesses like you'd expect, but little things like attacks being ranked by their power level and the fact that they go up as you use them was something that made having a limited amount of skills have a a sense of progression, and paired with awakenings that open up more attack options while looking really cool, made battles a fun spectacle to watch each and every time. With such a large group of magic users in Fairy Tail, it's also fun to see all the different characters you can fight with on both sides of the battlefield, with quests giving you ways to get many of them into your party, and having everyone come together for a barrage of special attacks and chain ones felt like a great celebration of everyone coming together in this game, that then of course has a magical finisher to top it all off in an appropriately anime way. This partner with characters having awakening forms that often altered their appearance and made them even stronger gave plenty of opportunities for battles to feel really epic. And then there's some decision making to do thanks to other things you can do in battle, like countering that takes from the awakening gauge, so it's not just flashy attacks, you do need to put a little thought in to make sure things go well, and everything works together to make these decisions quick and easy. That brings me to one of the minor issues I had with this system, as the game still felt pretty easy on normal mode. This surprised me a little, possibly due to the fact the game asks you if you want to play on easy when you first boot it up, so I'd recommend saying no to this option unless you want to play through it really quickly, but most people who usually play on easy mode will probably have no problem using normal in this one. Battle and difficulty aside, there are plenty of little things you can do for fun and to develop characters between quests and story. All characters have ranks that affect how they perform in magic chains, and to raise a rank past a certain point, you can talk to them to view a quick event that raises their bond. You can also earn extra items and accessories called Lacrima by doing minor quests from citizens that pop up everywhere, so it's easy to get and use your extra resources. Maps have locked paths that you can unlock by dealing big damage that gives you a reason to return to them in the future, and there are other things like duels and unlocking recipe books that can make a playthrough much bigger than the base amount of hours, especially on top of all the extra story content too. It's a game with plenty to do if you really want to get deep into it, and the questing and running around the map and finding stuff to do is honestly where I think the game shines and feels most developed, so if I ever go back, that will be the part I play with, and its colorful combat and the many extra unlockables make this game continue to look and feel interesting well after many hours of playing. There is a lot of good to be found in this Fairy Tail game, but it's certainly not to say it's perfect, more so that it remains very fun if you can get past a few things. Around the beginning of the Grand Magic Games arc, I began to feel like some content in this game may have been cut for time, with things like some characters just not having models made for them, some having sprites but voice acting, and others with no voice acting at all. And the occasional moment that was told through a moment narrated by Lucy suggested that maybe these were things they had hoped to put in the game but ran out of the time or budget to do so. The moments with text aren't the worst, although there were some that looked like they would have been genuinely fun to play through, and I felt a little bummed that they weren't included, but I could also understand that they can't fit every little bit of the Fairy Tail series in an RPG, especially if they want to keep good pacing, so I can forgive that to some extent. The moments with characters missing were quite jarring though, with some of what's missing making their scenes feel quite strange at times. There was one character I remember that was a member of Jor-El's group that didn't have a character model, and I assumed maybe I'd missed a line in the plot that mentioned she was a spirit or something and therefore didn't have a body. It quickly became apparent to be not the case when I saw it happen to other side characters too, but the fact that it made me make up a subplot that didn't exist in my head I think says a lot for how unnatural these moments felt, and the other type of moment where characters have a conversation with one off-screen weren't much better, as I found myself waiting for them to walk out and reveal themselves, and more often than not that didn't happen. It's a shame as there's so much good in this game, and while I realize a show like Fairy Tail has a very large cast that would take a lot of effort to recreate for the game, I don't think this distracting way of keeping everyone in but maybe saving some time and resources was the right way to go. If Gust ever tackle an anime game like this again in future, I'd prefer they use more still artwork or just put the character models in, as this part of the game will probably put some people off a good thing more than it ever needed to. The game was delayed twice though, and maybe they just had to get it out, but now that it is out, I don't expect these things to be fixed, and it's a slight shame that this game will likely forever hold a feeling of something that could have been even better. While some parts felt like they were missing, I was surprised when I finished to find there's more story to find post-game, and will definitely give you more Fairy Tail if the experience left you wanting more. And on top of extra side quests and stories, there are a few reasons to keep playing once you finish the main story. I mentioned my playthrough ended up being around 27 hours long, but I know I could easily extend that with side content like getting my guild to number 1 or exploring more of the world. And since these are the parts I enjoyed most from the game and felt most developed, that might be something I'd like to revisit. revisit someday. I don't know when that will be, as I finished the game feeling mostly satisfied and finished with what I've played for now, and I'm not totally sure if that's because I enjoyed it, which I did, but I do have a little bit of underlying disappointment every time one of those text-only events come up, and one did come up in the post-game story that reminded me of that. So for now, I'll be putting this one down, but I am leaving it with an interest of maybe looking into the anime or manga, so this Fairy Tail game did at least do its job of getting me interested in the Fairy Tail series, and that is something I certainly can't complain about. The Fairy Tail game is at its most enjoyable when it's giving story-filled quests and colorful events, and those parts were some I had a lot of fun with and were complemented well with flashy battles, music, and visuals that made everything feel exciting. In fact, despite my feeling about some of the missing character models and moments of the story that were told through narration, I still feel that this game is a success for Gust in the way I would absolutely play any other anime game they did if it was like this one, and it did do its job of showing off the Fairy Tail characters in a fun and engaging way that made me feel good about getting to know a cast I didn't know for the first time, which I think says it mostly rises above its imperfections to make something fun. In the end, Gust's take on the Fairy Tail world is one that is fun to play, and the gameplay moments really shine here thanks to the way all of its quests let you get to know the world. And while it won't be one I pick up and play again immediately, I like knowing it's there as a good thing to do if I ever get more into this colorful and exciting series that I enjoyed getting introduced to in video game form. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you played the Fairy Tail game, and if you did, what did you think of it? You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!